and then put it on their ear.
Yes.
And it'll draw out the bacteria.
Right. Kind of along the same line of pulling out that bruise and inflammation. Yeah, that's very good to do. Have you tried that on Julia?
No, had an earache.
Very good. Very good. Well, at least you know how to do it if she should get an earache.
She does have a friend, actually, with Mark Clemenson's daughter. I was at their house once, and she had an earache, and I told them to do it. So they did. I went over to help them. So they brought the onion up, and while they were doing that, I was praying, and as soon as I stopped praying, the little girl stopped crying. And her earache, eventually it went away.
Okay. Okay, very good. As an alternate for that, I've also had some good success with peppermint oil in many different situations. If you got an earache or your eustachian tube feels in your ears that coming down here start to feel stuffy or achy, peppermint oil has been very helpful. Peppermint oil for headache, peppermint oil for enlarged lymph glands. Peppermint oil is one of the oils that I rarely travel without. And it's nice to put it in or have it in these little bottles that you can just put it in your purse or your bag or whatever, and it becomes very helpful for these situations, whether it's a headache, earache, indigestion. You put a couple drops in water. It's very good. Now we have the option of tea as well. The tea is a bit more soothing, say is for upset stomach, whereas peppermint essential oil is more stimulating. Sometimes for indigestion you do want that more stimulating situation to get things moving, that things are just sitting there and creating this gas and indigestion. For peppermint oil, digestive upsets, you put 1 to 2 drops in a half a cup of water. And for external use, headache, sore throat, head and chest congestion, sinuses, pain, infection, peppermint oil is a fantastic thing for all of this. I remember there was one time we had gone out and I ended up with very sore lymph glands. Didn't really get sick. I guess my immune system was sufficient that it was able to keep me from really getting sick, but it just settled in my lymph glands here. They were so sore you look at them and they hurt. And peppermint oil was so helpful. And I would put it on in about 15-20 minutes and start to feel warm and soothe it. It'd wear off, and I'd do that again. I repeatedly did that throughout the couple days I had that, and it was a real help for me. So I know the peppermint oil can be helpful. It's great for headaches too. Sometimes you can avert headaches by putting it on where your head is starting to hurt, like if it's your forehead or side of your head. And you put it there. Yes, it might burn your eye a little bit, but if you don't want to get the headache, try it. And if you have to put it like on the side of your head or above your eye where the fumes are going to get in your eye, you close your eye for a little bit and it'll pass. But often the peppermint oil will keep you from getting a full-blown headache. And of course, as far as the headache is concerned, making sure that you're drinking enough water, because that's often a cause for headaches, and if you're not drinking enough water, if you're constipated or something along that line. Tea. 1 tablespoon rounded to 1 pint of water, cover steep. This is good for colds and chills again, helps to relax and settle your nerves. It's great for nausea, for cramps, an antispasmodic where you might have tight muscles. It's good for fomentation, for bath, for rejuvenation and overexposure. When we're talking about overexposure, we're even talking about overexposure to the sunlight. Now you probably wouldn't want a hot bath, but say a tepid peppermint tea bath could be very helpful for a person that got overexposed, say, to the sunlight and they got a sunburn. And that has been known to be quite helpful. You'd want to make about 2 quarts of tea at 3 times the normal strength. So you'd end up using 3 rounded tablespoons to 2 cups of water for that. You'll make a very strong tea, and then strain it out and put it in your bath water. So you don't have to be picking out pieces of peppermint leaf from your bathtub. If you find that peppermint oil is too strong, you can dilute it a little bit. But often I find peppermint oil is not too strong that you can use it straight. But if you do, you can add a little olive oil and probably no more than anywhere from an equal amount or up to 5 drops per drop of per drop of essential oil. You don't want to get it much more diluted than that, I don't think.
You use the base like in a bottle?
In a bottle? How small a baby?
Like 6 months.
6 months, you probably would want the tea instead of essential oil.
Yeah.
And even then you might want to try spearmint. Spearmint's a little more mild than peppermint. But yeah, you could do that. Mm-hmm. They're for whatever digestive problems they're having, or a cold or something to that effect. Let's see. Okay, we'll do just this one more. Looks like we'll do this one. Cloves. Cloves is kind of its sidekick, that for me anyhow. I'll often take it as well because it's great as a painkiller as well. It's a little bit stronger than peppermint. If you get a toothache, it's great for dealing with the toothache until you can get it taken care of. It's great for soothing and relaxing to the nerves. It's mildly stimulating to the circulation. It's a sleep aid, helps with nausea, and is an antiseptic. You can use clove oil externally for pain and also infection. You can dilute it if you need it. Now you can use this for teething for babies, and for that I would definitely dilute it, because clove oil is a bit strong, but you can dilute it 1 to 4 or 5, and rub a little bit on their gums where they're having the problems with the teething. It can also be good for sores and swollen glands that I've talked about, as far as the lymph nodes or anything that's painful. As far as for stomach though, I typically don't use the clove oil. It's a little bit stronger than the peppermint for stomach issues. You actually don't want to ingest a lot of this. I find that it is a little upsetting to the stomach if you end up ingesting a lot of clove oil. But certainly if you have a bad toothache, this will definitely help you to bear it until you're able to get it taken care of by a dentist. Also, ground clove buds. If you don't have the clove oil, you can take the clove bud from the grocery store, from the spice section of the grocery store, and chew on it, and that can certainly be a help as well, because you're basically kind of chewing out the volatile oils. Clove tea you can use for sleep, for nervousness, for soothing, relaxing situation, and cough. Now we talked a little bit about putting maybe ground up clove buds with the cough syrup, and clove is slightly like a mild anesthetic, and that can be helpful for a sore throat and other painful body parts. Now as far as for sleeping though, you'll want to use the clove tea. The clove tea you'll make out of clove buds. You'll use approximately a quarter to a half a teaspoon of clove buds per cup of water. Now you'll notice that that is less than what you normally use on another herb. In other words, peppermint leaves, we're using a tablespoon per 2 cups of water. Well, typically with clove buds, you're using no more than about a teaspoon per 2 cups of water. That's just because clove buds are fairly strong. And you can simmer that for, say, 15 minutes, and that makes a nice tea that you can use for helping you to sleep. If you want it a little bit stronger, you just simmer it a little bit longer, or add a few more clove buds. There gets a point that when it gets strong enough, it actually starts to deaden your mouth. And that's fine. Especially, it's good to know if you know you need some kind of mild anesthetic. It can be helpful as a mild sedative. I think I'm going to go ahead and stop there. We've covered quite a few herbs. Anybody would like to make any question or comment? Go ahead.
how can we get this information printed or some other form that
He's having videos.
we got to record?
Yeah, he's got to.
Is it a PowerPoint?
Yes, part of a PowerPoint presentation.
So you could email it.
Okay. I'll have to do an export. All right. Any other question or comment? Well, hopefully you've maybe got some additional ideas. Go ahead.
Things like the paint, cayenne pepper, and are these things do you think we should only use medicinally, or is it something you use every day? What do you think of?
Well, Hippocrates made a statement that your food should be your medicine and your medicine should be your food. I think that is a very important statement that we need to consider. Hippocrates. Your food should be your medicine, and your medicine should be your food. I know there are some people that do say you shouldn't ever use these on your food or anything like that, or you should never use. So they never should use them whatsoever. But then you'll find that they do use cayenne sometimes. For many of these herbs, say I'll just take an example of lobelia. Lobelia is an herb that many people are scared of because in higher dosages it's an emetic. It makes you vomit. Oh, okay, that's fine. If you need an emetic, that's good to know. But on lower dosages, it's a great antispasmodic. It's one of the greatest antispasmodic. And when we say antispasmodic, it is good for muscle spasms, helps to relax muscle spasms. It's also good for people with epilepsy and things like that. I've also had some success with it in helping to bring down high blood pressure that's spiked. So the point here is that you get an effect at one dose and a different effect at a higher dose. Many of these herbs or spices, shall we say, have a digestion stimulating effect at a smaller dose, at a different effect at a higher dose. Nutmeg is one of them. At a small dose is a digestive aid. If you start to eat several nuts, it's a hallucinogen. Probably don't want that, but again, another example of it's dose dependent. I'm not against using the spices, cloves included, but I don't use these every day. If I have something that calls for it, I'll use it, but it's not something I use on a daily basis.
Many doctors that God created it for purpose, but the thing is that how it doesn't have any good use is like saying that God created something out of vanity.
Right. So I believe they have their places. Now, like cayenne, especially for people who have circulatory issues, they probably will benefit from basically a daily use.
Yeah, I was just going to maybe re-ask the same question in different words, but I'm sure you read a lot of the Spirit of Prophecy on the subject of spices, and she even specifically mentions a few, black pepper and others that I'm sure you know about, and she leaves many unstated one way or another, garlic and onions, of which the only quote I know in onions is where she's recommended it once medicinally, the good that it would be. I'm just maybe it's not something she clearly stated because it's one of those areas that depends on circumstances, but or the person or their system or whatever. But just from your study of the Spirit of Prophecy and your experience with these things, would you consider garlic and onions to be in the same category as black pepper, that's a harmful spice that should never be used, or at most only used medicinally?
No, I wouldn't say. I would have a hard time seeing onions and garlic in the same category as black pepper. I would have a hard time seeing it. Black pepper is a lot more stimulating than garlic and onion would be. I haven't seen. I don't recall coming across anything that specifically states that garlic and onion are stimulating. Now, one thing I've noticed as far as spices are concerned, apparently back in some of those early times, they were using large amounts